All right, well, let me just quickly tweet out the links and then we'll get started. Ba-ba.
Can you hear me okay though, yeah?
Yeah, your voice is fine. All right. Quickly get this up and then we'll start. All right. Ready? What'd you say? Ready, yeah?
Let's go, bro. Yeah.
I'll come. 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to another episode of Ringside Fracas. I'm your host Naeem, and today I'm joined by Dapo. Dapo, how are you, bro?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Yeah, it's been calm. Just boxing. Just like it's been a
Been a
bit
bit
slow the
slow.
last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we knew that was gonna happen. There's been a break in the scheduling, but now it's gonna start to ramp up in the next weeks or so. I mean, like next week, which is what we're gonna preview for the pod today. We've got Zhang versus Joyce, the rematch to look forward to. We've also got the Canelo fight against Charlo the week after, and then from then on, it's just going to keep snowballing. You've got then Wood versus Warrington. That's going to be a great fight to watch. And then you've also got in October 21st. We've also got Buatsi Aziz, so that's going to be great to watch. So we've got a couple good fights now that are sort of gaining steam, and we're getting towards it. 2 weeks we had 2 weeks off, but now we're back into it. And what better way than just to get started into previewing Zhang versus Joyce too? So for those that don't know, I mean, if you don't, you've been living under a rock. Zhang versus Joyce happened early in the year. I think this was mainly a voluntary fight from Joe Joyce. He was in line for the WBO. He was the WBO interim champion, so he was in line for the fight against Usyk. But he took this fight against Zhilei Zhang. A lot of people actually said there were some people who said he shouldn't have taken this fight. And lo and behold, come fight night, it was a one-sided beatdown. And I say that Joyce was very lucky to come out of that fight with his career still intact. It was as bad as it could get. He didn't get dropped, but Joyce isn't a guy that really gets dropped like that. But he got absolutely beaten up to a pulp. His eye was finished. It was one of the worst showings you could have in terms of when you're trying to build a heavyweight towards a world title shot. That's probably one of the worst things to see coming from him, because even if he does come through Zhang in this fight, I feel like that image of him getting banged up and beaten, twanged by Big Bang Zhang, is gonna really stick to
Pause.
hey, pause, but that's the guy. Chat shit, get Zhang. Um,
Oh, crazy.
he's
Big yo.
he said it. He coined the term. It's a good term to be fair, but um, like it's gonna stick in people's minds where that you really got thumped out and beaten up, and he's not the indestructible monster, the juggernaut that he's really been known for. What did you think about the first fight? You're now that you had some time to look over it. Now we're getting into this fight and looking back at it all. What do you think about that first fight and the way it went?
I wasn't surprised. Um, I knew that going into this fight, Gile would cause Joyce problems because of his fighting stance. Um, Gile is a southpaw, right?
Yeah,
And I don't think Joyce is the most technical heavyweight we have. I just think the reason why he's done so well is that he can take a lot of punishment, and he can wear you down by his size. And Joyce has got decent power as well.
yeah,
Um, but so when I did the math, I saw this as a possibility as well. And then I also remembered Zile's performance against Hergovic. Um, and that fight has been stuck in my head in terms of how Zhang would do against, the upper mid-tier heavyweights that we have.
Yeah,
So like the Joyces, the Hergoviches, all those bigger guys, that are a bit slower and may not be used to fighting southpaws.
yeah,
I'm not too familiar with Joyce's career so far, but I don't know if he has much experience being in there with southpaw. And lo and behold, you can tell that he really, really struggled. Um, and Joyce just could, Zhang just couldn't miss. Like he just couldn't miss. And I feel like Joyce's attributes almost worked against him in that fight. You know how people always say like, oh yeah, like Joyce can take so many punches and then
yeah,
he would end up getting you. Like that's the worst thing to have in a fight like that because
yeah,
you shouldn't be taking so many punches. You understand? Like Joyce is not super defensive. Your defense can't be blocking shots with your head, you know, and you're fighting a target that you can't mark, you can't pin down, you can't mark. So yeah, I just hope that they've made some really, really big improvements in camp just to make sure this fight is interesting again. I'm still leaning towards another Zhang win, but
yeah.
I know that Zhang is older, and well, they're both older. They're both older. Joyce is not young either.
No, no, yeah,
So, um, but Zhang is older, and we have seen him gas. We've seen him
yeah,
struggle in the later rounds as well. Those are the kind of things going in favor for Joyce, and hopefully he can capitalize on these things in the night. But a big, a big part of me still thinks that it's a repeat situation and not revenge.
yeah. Yeah. I agree with a lot of them. It's like when you watch that first fight, especially I was best surprised in the first round or second round. Zhang caught Joyce with something, and Joyce kind of wobbled, and you rarely seen.
You don't really see that.
Yeah, you see, I've seen it in the amateurs. He's been dropped, but amateurs is one thing. If you pros is another. And when that happened, I kind of it was like Zhang can really hit hard, and it really did trouble Joyce. And it's also the combination of Zhang in that fight where he was picking his shots. He was kind of waiting for Joyce to sort of punch, and then after or in between the punches, throws a combination, catches him, and he was just everything was just perfect. His game plan just looked very good. And like you said, Joyce I don't think it's Joyce actively uses his head to defend. I think it's more that he's just very slow. You've seen how he punches. You've seen how he kind of moves. He's an athletic guy. Like he's 6 foot. I think he's got 6'6", and he can do like front flips and back flips and whatever. He's very athletic, but he doesn't have. He's not blessed with that quick reaction that some people have, where they're very
That
reactive to certain things.
explosiveness.
Yeah, he's just very slow. Everything just takes his time, but once it lands, you can feel the power behind it because he's very dense. I think they said his bone density is like multiple times higher than an average person. So, but because he's so slow, Zhang's quite quick with his hands. He was just catching him all the time, and he was timing it. And the one thing going into this next fight, a lot of people were saying is, oh, like you said, oh, Zhang might gas going down the late rounds, and we don't know how we look in the later rounds because this fight got stopped in the sixth. Is the way Zhang was fighting Joyce, it was a comfortable pace. Like Joyce was trying to overwhelm him, but Zhang was throwing back in between Joyce's attacks, and he was just having success all the time. And he was wobbling Joyce and having so much success with it. And I feel like when you're in that zone where you're comfortable, the guy's trying to do a lot, but you're not really doing that much, and you're still having a lot of success. It's a comfortable pace for you to um, carry on. So for the second fight, I feel like he'll still fight at that same pace, and he should be comfortable going into the 12 rounds. I think the way for Joyce, like the key for him to win, is to use his guard better. I don't think he uses his guard not that great. He doesn't really hold it high enough because he's expecting when he's throwing his punches, because he's used to it. When he's throwing his punches in the pros, he's used to people going back and sort of not throwing back because they don't want to get hit by Joyce. But with Zhang, it was sort of like I'm waiting, and then I got my shot. I'm gonna throw this combination. So he has to have a better guard there. The weird thing I found though about that first fight was, remember Joyce came out and he was like, "Oh, we never trained southpaws," and it looked like that. It looked like they never trained for a southpaw. Like the first moment they got in there and he landed his first couple of attacks, Joyce wasn't using the right weapons that you need for a southpaw. The right hand going straight down the pipe, getting your foot on the outside. He didn't look like he was ready in any aspect of that. So he could be much more better prepared in this fight, in the rematch, where he sparred more southpaws. He's got there. But I think the big issue for me is that eye. It was bad.
Mm.
It was really bad. Like it was swollen. I don't think in terms of actual injury, like damage to the eye itself, and like there was no like proper serious damage. Like it healed after a couple, like a month or two. But you look at Zhang and he knows he's gonna go for that eye again, because it's the same thing with like Dubois when he got his eye bashed in. People are gonna look for that. Like if you have an injury where people's gone for it, I'm gonna go for it again and see if we can break it. And I feel like I said, I think Joyce was lucky in that first fight that his career didn't end, because he didn't go down, right? It was the ref that called it off, because the doctor told him, look, I'm looking at his eye. It doesn't look great, but it's your discretion. And he called it off. If that fight went on for another 1 or 2 more rounds, Joyce isn't really going down, but his eye's going to get mashed up, and that can end your career, because when you have eye surgery or whatever, they can say, look, you can't go back into a boxing ring because it's just going to get detached again. You're not going to be able to box the same. So for Zhang, there's so much confidence in this. He knows he's banged his eye out. He knows that there was no moment in the fight that Joyce really had success and everything's his way. And Joyce really needs this fight to win, because he's, like I said, he's old. He's 37. Realistically, he's only got one big shot for the title. And then if he goes back down again, it's going to take a long time to get back towards the world title. So he's got to look at whether or not if he can win this or not. And if he doesn't, then he has to look at his options in boxing as what's the biggest money fight. Like it could be like Warren's now talking about putting in Dubois with AJ. Warren might do that with Joyce. He might like, screw it. Like, this guy's not really going to get back up there again. Let me just put him in with the big money fights I can get for him. So for Joyce, there's a lot of pressure on him. He's never been in this situation where he's lost, and he's never been in this situation in a pro fight. He's never been in this situation where he really has to win the rematch, and it's an immediate one. That's the one thing about these immediate rematches. They don't always go the other way, right? They're like with AJ and Ruiz, it was a bit different because Ruiz wasn't meant to win. And you could tell skills-wise, Ruiz was much deficit, like in a much bigger deficit compared to AJ. But most rematches you've seen, a lot of them, you'll see that the winner tends to win. It favors the winner. Other than maybe Wood Lara, but Lara in that second fight looked completely rubbish, man. He looked poor. So I wonder how he approaches it, because their training for their first fight just didn't make sense to me. You see, there's so much tape of Zhile Zhang. He's not like some unknown boxer. They didn't get him out from nowhere. We've seen him on big cards. We've seen him in how did you not prepare well for that you didn't know he was going to be southpaw, and you didn't know he was a good combination puncher? It's just,
yeah, saying that we had no southpaw sparring is crazy.
Yeah, it was like, what the, like, this is a big fight. It tells me that they underestimated him, and they saw the Hrgovic fight. Yeah, they saw the Hrgovic fight, and they were like, well, yeah, he can bang well with top heavyweights, but he's not that, like, down the stretch. He's not
that guy.
Yeah, so we can take him down the stretch and drown him, and basically what Joyce normally does. And it just didn't work that way, because it just didn't look well prepared. So that's why this rematch for me is really interesting. And Zhang obviously is going to take this rematch because a lot of money on the line that they probably would have offered him. He wins here, title shot, nothing else for him. Like
Joyce was coming off that Joseph Parker win as well.
Yeah.
And on paper, most would probably think Parker's a better fight than Zhang. So
not now.
Not now. Yeah,
and that's not even because Zhang won. You look at Joseph Parker's recent performances. He's been so bad. He's been poor. He fought I think he fought on a boxer card. He fought a cruiserweight called Jack Massey. He won by decision. It was one of the worst fights. He had a fight recently in New Zealand. He won in 2 rounds, but it was against one of those like rubbish C-level, D-level guys. Like Joe Parker's really on the downside of his career. He's one of those guys where they're waiting. Like you're waiting for a prospect to fight him, and they're going to stop him or beat him or something like that, and then they'll take over from him. He himself has undermined himself. But Zhang, like for him, a lot of pressure, because title shot on the line, that's what everyone wants. You want a title shot, so there's loads for him on the line, and if he doesn't win, people will kick him out. A lot of people don't want to fight him. Like a lot of people wouldn't want to fight that type of style, even though he's 40 or whatever. It's a hell style, because I haven't seen him really rock like that he like his gas tank is a bit bad, but his style's a bit difficult to deal with. He's got quick hands, he's composed, and he's a southpaw, so it's hard to deal with. But what do you think? How do you think this second fight for you? How do you think it will go? Like just in like how it goes, same or like?
I think Joyce might look good early, but then as the rounds go by, the fight will start to look like the first fight. That's what I think. And then I think you probably get stopped again.
Say that again. It cut out.
So I think you probably get stopped again.
Joyce.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah,
Because Zhang's job is not hard in this fight. Like
no,
genuinely, it's not hard. Like he doesn't have to be better than Joyce to win because of what he's already done in the first fight. He has to
yeah,
do it again. Like even
yeah,
Joyce can be beating him in the fight, but if he keeps landing on that eye, which he will, Joyce is not going to turn to Usyk overnight. He will land on that eye. So yeah, I see it the same. Can't lie.
that's fair. Yeah, I think for me it's either it goes the same way where we're just seeing in the first 6 rounds, Joyce does make a few adjustments from the first fight, but he's just the fight's just getting away from him. He just reverts to type where he just keeps somehow getting hit, and he just doesn't know what to do. So he just becomes who he is, and that causes him to get hit even more. The only thing I see, the only thing I'm worried about is like I said, Zhang's gas tank. I'm like,
Mm.
is
It's
it was
tough.
it yeah, was that Jerry Forrest fight just a fluke? Something happened that night where he wasn't 100%, or because against Hergovich his gas tank was okay. It wasn't
Like he slowed
really,
down towards the end.
yeah.
He got tired. He
But
definitely
it
got
wasn't. It
tired.
wasn't like the Jerry Forrest one where he completely slowed down and he let Jerry Forrest come. Like he was literally dominating Jerry Forrest in the first 4 rounds, and then he let Jerry come back with the last like 6 or 7 rounds,
Mm.
and then it became a draw. I don't think it would be like that. I think his gas tank will be a bit better, and but he'll struggle. We'll see him struggle in the later rounds if he gets there later rounds. Yo, Chris, bro, what are you saying, bro?
What's good, lads? What's good, lads?
We'll
Uncle
just
Chris.
preview Zhang and Joyce in it because we finally have a British fight to talk about after 2 weeks. It's been long.
Yeah. Finally, at long last.
What do you think about the fight?
It's a tough one, man. It's a tough one because usually in a rematch, unless there's been some sort of major misfortune, you kind of have an idea of what's going to happen the second time around. If someone was dominant the first time around, usually it means you're going to get a lot of continuation. But in this respect, I think because Joyce does have power and he is durable, he's always got a chance. And obviously it's heavyweight boxing as well. But I feel like Zhang is still going to be the superior boxer. I feel like he's still going to get that left hand and land it quite frequently. I'm not sure how much Joyce's eye would have healed from the last fight. These things take time, innit? They take a long time. They have to be realistic. People think because they're boxers that they have some
Just
kind
feel
of
like Wolverine or something. Bro,
yeah.
these
People
things,
feel like they can just heal like overnight.
bro,
These
injuries are
things,
mad, bro. Especially these sports ones. Oh my god.
yeah. A lot of sports injuries, you might not ever come back from it, like never.
Facts.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I feel like there's a massive element of how far damaged is Joyce. He's not a young guy. How old is he? 38?
37, 38,
yeah.
something.
37. Yeah. He's not young, so all the trauma to his body isn't going to help. But I think what he has on his side is he's got a good tank. He's
Yeah.
very durable for the most part, and I feel like Zhang, even though he's a better boxer, he kind of gasses out and he
He
fades
does.
in fights. I've seen him fade in quite a few fights. So
Faded against Hergovich and Jerry
yeah,
Forrest.
yeah. Even though I felt like he overall performed very well against Hergovich,
Yeah,
who's
agreed.
the younger, more fresher fighter. He did gas out quite bad, and he gave away rounds just because he was tired, or I don't want to say unfit, but just not having the energy to perform at his best for all 12 rounds. But if I was to guess which way the fight is going to go again, I'd be looking at like a repeat of the first fight.
Yeah. I mean, I was saying the same thing with his eye. That's the one thing I'm looking at. He's very fortunate. I said he was very fortunate that he came out of that fight with a career still intact.
100%.
Because the ref had to step in. Joyce is the type of guy who's going to go down at any point in that fight, but he just got battered in his face. I'll batter your face as well. But it's weird because I remember Lewis was talking about it in the group chat, and he thinks Joyce, and I think some people are kind of going for the Joyce points down the stretch, because I can see that if it does get towards rounds 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, Joyce, you'd bank on Joyce being the more fresher and fitter fighter in those rounds.
Sure.
But I don't know how he deals with the onslaught in the first couple rounds, because Joyce is very good. Is a decent boxer. He's got good fundamentals, like a jab, good right hand. He goes to the body well, but he's just very slow. And because he's so slow and he's used to overwhelming people, he's not used to tucking up and like using an effective high guard to get in. Because that's what I think he has to do: have a high guard, block a lot of the shots that are coming in, close the distance between him and Zhang, and wear on him in the first couple rounds. You don't really have to win them, but just don't get hit hard. Try to overwhelm him. Do the Tyson Fury stuff where you tie him up and you go on top of him, stuff like that. Pause. You go on top of, you grab him, all of that. And then in the later rounds, when you're kind of seeing him fade, then start to stick it on him. But again, he's someone I feel like if he gets hit a couple times, especially when he got wobbled in the first fight, I feel like if he gets wobbled again, he'll just revert to type. And that's just who he is, and he'll just keep getting hit until Zhang can put him out. That's why I feel like it might happen. So that's why I'm kind of stuck between whether or not can Zhang do the job again, or can Zhang actually get a decision, because Zhang is not great at seeing fights out, even if he does get like a big lead at the start, like you said. So,
Zhang gets tired, man. That should definitely be incorporated into Joyce's game plan. They should be looking at that.
Yeah, to wear him out in the first.
I don't think they took him seriously in that first fight. Can't lie.
If you didn't do any southpaw sparring for that fight, you didn't take him seriously. Like, that doesn't make sense. How can you not be prepared for a guy that's a southpaw, and you didn't do southpaw sparring?
That's crazy.
Like, it just doesn't make sense. Especially that everything's on the line. It doesn't matter what fight you take. Everything's always going to be on the line in this fight. It's just weird.
And I'm sure you can find southpaw heavyweights to replicate what Zhang does.
Oh, there's
some
so many
crazy, unique fighters. You know what I'm saying?
There's so many. There's no. Obviously, you're not going to be able to replicate the exact style or the exact person, but you can just get used to this fighting southpaws. What weapons work well against them, what don't, what you can do well. Because he wasn't doing, like, I always say this: whenever you see a southpaw and orthodox fight, you should notice the feet battle a lot of the times. Some boxers are good enough to negate that. So, like Bivol, when he fought Zerdo, Bivol was always stepping in rather than stepping out. But that's because he knows he's much quicker than Zerdo, so he can step in and get him to commit and come out. But most of the time with these boxers, even if you're slow, whatever, you're stepping on the outside, and that way you can land your big right hand. He was rarely trying to win the feet battle, and then he was just trying to overwhelm Zhang. And then when you're stopping punching, Zhang was coming back with the proper shots. So it's just I struggle to see how Joyce wins this fight, man. He really needs a revamp if he is meant to win this fight. So,
I don't see it.
It's interesting. What's your final predictions? What we were going for with our final predictions for this fight? It doesn't count as prediction league. You can still change it.
Zhang stoppage round 6.
Round 6. Chris?
I'm gonna go for a later stoppage. I'm gonna go for a 10 to 12.
I'm gonna say Zhang.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Zhang.
Yeah, we kind of figured it was Zhang, but yeah. Zhang. I'm gonna say Zhang. See, if I say decision, I don't know if they're gonna give it to him. Like, I feel like he'll build such a lead.
Queensbury need Joyce to win.
Yeah, but is it them ones where they'll rob him where it's completely robbery, or is it like I'll say Zhang. I'll say Zhang decision. I think he'll get a decision this time. I think once Joyce starts to feel the pressure, I don't say he will hide away from it, but he won't be able to open up as much. But he'll remember the first fight and kind of try to survive to the end.
Yeah, I hear that.
And on that card, I think it's pay-per-view. Yeah, it's a pay-per-view card. Anthony Yarde's returning. It's weird because I need to go on BoxRec because someone he was meant to be fighting Ricky Summers, but someone said apparently Ricky Summers pulled out and he's going to fight Ben Whitaker in November. Yeah. So if you go on BoxRec, I mean, if you trust BoxRec, but I do, it says to be announced. So Anthony Yarde's returning on the undercard since his fight with obviously Beterbiev. What are we expecting from Anthony Yarde in terms of just obviously this is meant to be a tick over fight, needing to get back in the ring, get active, and get a win on his record. But what are we kind of expecting the direction from his career? What are we seeing now? Now that he's fought Beterbiev, he's done, he showed that he does belong on the world level, but he can't deliver just yet to that stage. What are we kind of expecting to see from Yarde now? Chris, I'll come to you.
Mate, you know what? I was having a conversation about Yarde maybe like a week ago. And I really feel like maybe in like 20 years' time, people are going to really start to appreciate his career and what he tried to do. He's always been painted as like a British level, fringe European level, because he never did what he needed to do to win his top fights. But he was always competitive. He's always fun to watch. He's exciting. He's got a style that's eye-catching. And he's clearly not afraid to take on any challenge. I feel like time isn't on his side. I don't think time is on his side. How old is he? Is he 32?
I think so. Yeah, 32, yeah.
Yeah, time isn't on his side, and he hasn't gotten to that world level just yet. He's respected by world level opponents, but he just hasn't done enough.
Do we have any British light heavies at a world level?
No.
You could argue Buatsi, but that's arguable. Yeah. That's very arguable.
I feel like Buatsi is very arguable. Very arguable.
Maybe Callum.
Yeah. In fact, I think Yarde is a better fighter than Buatsi. I'll be honest. From what I've seen, I know Buatsi is definitely the more sound technically, but from what I've seen and the level of opponents he's managed to, I mean, I don't like talking about looking good losing, but he's looked very good in most of his fights. The only fight I've seen of his that I didn't like was the first Lyndon Arthur fight.
Yeah.
But other than that, he's always been competitive. He's always looked strong. He's always looked good. He's always been a threat. I feel like the Buatsi fight needs to happen. If it's not Buatsi, then it should be the winner of Buatsi and Aziz. Yeah. Whichever one comes first. I think Bivol all wrong for him.
Yeah.
I think Bivol is a bad opponent for him to fight stylistically. I feel like he would have a really hard time against Bivol. But yeah, I think all in all, I think he needs that Buatsi fight. That's the fight that would cement his legacy at least as a British light heavyweight. And yeah, I think from then anything's a bonus. He's made a lot of money in the sport. He can, I think maybe after about 4 fights, if he really wanted to, he could call it a day. His career could be done after 4 fights, and he could, walk into the sunset and be happy with what he's achieved.
Dapo, what's your thoughts on Yarde and what should be next in his career?
I do think he struggles against the likes of Bivol, etc. But I wouldn't mind seeing him in there with Bivol, man. I wouldn't mind one more campaign for a world title. As unrealistic as it seems, I don't think it should be a reason not to fight these people because the majority of people say they're gonna lose. But yeah, I agree with Chris. Everything Chris said. I think that Buatsi fight is probably his like highlight real career fight. So I would love to see them scrap. I'd love to see them get that done. At this moment in time, it's very, 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 very debatable who the better fighter is. So I do believe Yarde has a better resume. But obviously, Buatsi's never lost, and on
Yeah.
paper, he is the better fighter.
Say that again. You cut
But
out.
I said the Buatsi fight
Yeah.
is the highlight fight for Yarde at this point.
Yeah.
I think that's his rival. So I think, yeah, I agree with Chris. I think for a couple more fights he can retire. But in those couple fights, I wouldn't mind him. I wouldn't mind seeing Yarde against Bivol. I wouldn't mind that. You know, he would be the underdog, agreed. But I think one more campaign at world title wouldn't hurt him. And yeah, he's done well in the sport, and his legacy fight definitely is that Buatsi fight. Or whoever wins in the Buatsi Aziz fight, I think he should definitely take on. And yeah, it looks to probably start to wrap up in a couple years.
Yeah. I think he should look at this October fight with Buatsi and Aziz and kind of see also not also who wins and how they look, but also what the kind of public reaction is. I feel like these kind of fighters, they need that kind of push to see, oh, how do the public react to these domestic showdowns? Obviously, it's going to be positive. Everyone can tell you that, but they kind of need to see it. And I feel like if he sees the Buatsi Aziz win or fight, he sees who wins. He's going to entice him to want to fight one of them because he knows that there'll be a lot of money involved, and also it's a good test for him to take on one of these guys. The one thing about him is always what I think right now in his career you'd always say is his wins don't really reflect how good he could have been. So because it's only Lyndon Arthur, I feel like there's a lot of guys at that world level that Yarde could do very well against, that they're not there anymore. Like if Yarde fought, for example, a Joe Smith Jr., I think he could have beaten a Joe Smith Jr. easily. If he fought Marcus Brown, I think that would have been a very good fight for him. I think it would have been a fight he's like I don't know about his chances of winning, but like I'd favor him slightly in that fight if they were fighting like a couple of years ago. But now those guys have kind of moved up to cruiserweight. So I feel like he needs that, like you said, he needs that highlight marquee win because Lyndon Arthur can't be the best win of your career. Like you said, Chris, everyone should appreciate that the guy went after and he was very unfortunate that he went after some of the most elite fighters we've seen in that division in Kovalev and Beterbiev. But he gave a good account of himself. The Kovalev fight, he almost could have won it. He had that moment to win it. He made it competitive with Beterbiev, but he needs that marquee win. He really does need that marquee win. I think that's the one thing that will haunt him is if he ends his career and he kind of goes, well, my best win was Lyndon Arthur. I don't think he'd even want that for himself. I feel like he can get a better win than Lyndon Arthur, and he's going to have to push for it. Whether it's to be still with Frank Warren or to move with someone else. Obviously, Frank's nice to him, so I don't think he'll leave. But he needs to push. And this is what boxers need to do more often, is push your promoters to get these type of fights for you. But he can't do the thing where Frank Warren always does, where, you fight Kovalev, go back down many levels, stay at that sort of level again for 2 or 3 years, and then come back up. He needs to have this tick over and then look at his options with Frank and go, look, can we get the Buatsi fight or the Buatsi Aziz winner fight? Can we get maybe Bivol if Bivol's free, or even Lyndon Arthur, because Lyndon Arthur's now coming back up. In that build up to that fight, a lot of people didn't like how Lyndon was, but he's building himself back up. So like I said, he's a good fighter, but he needs that marquee win, and he doesn't have that right now. I don't think he'll be a world champion, and that's not any crap to him. There's a lot of fighters there. I don't think he will be a world champion. I think because Beterbiev and Bivol are just too good. They have to rely on the situation favoring them and getting a vacant belt, basically, if one of them, moves up or retires or whatever. Because I can't see anyone in that division really beating them. Even the Callum Smith fight, I feel like unless Beterbiev, is really old, I don't think Callum Smith's going to do that well against him. It's a tough division. It really is a tough division, and he came into it in a tough time because he got two elite pound for pound level fighters like that division's never seen before. So I really feel for him in that sense, because there are other divisions where Anthony Yarde would have been a champion, 100%. Like in terms of his skill, we've seen worse champions, way worse champions in that division become champion, in divisions become champion. So he's very unfortunate that he had to contend with who he did. But I just hope they do him well. That he does get those marquee wins and he doesn't go back down a level. Like I said, like he doesn't stay at that level. We'll see. And hopefully just on Saturday, just, tick over, and then hopefully December again. I think you could easily fight in December. If you're fighting a tick over, you can easily fight in December again. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes though. Like what he kind of thinks of his own career. Speaking of returns in British boxing, apparently, I don't know, the rumors have been going out for the last month or so. So there's a matchroom card with Richardson Hitchens versus Jose Zepeda. That's a really good card, a really good fight. You should watch because Hitchens is a really good talent. If you're interested, it's on American time. But if you're interested, watch that fight. Hitchens is someone that I think is going to be a good talent. Conor Benn is apparently going to return on that fight. Nothing's been announced yet, and Matchroom haven't said anything. It's this Saturday, so I'm not sure what the move is. Maybe it might be that they just want to tick over fight for Conor because he's been out for more than a month. They don't really care about promoting that fight that much, just as long as he's on the card and he's fighting. I think there was a news that came out that the Florida Commission have no objection to letting Conor Benn fight. I think they've been in communication with the BBOC and all the other commissions about about him returning. I don't think they have any objections either. What do you lot think about Conor Benn returning if he does make his boxing return this week on that card? Dapo, I'll come to you first.
This is random. This is bare random. How did that just come out of nowhere? I don't understand.
I feel like they need it because with Conor Benn, there's so many big fights involved. They just need a takeover fight for him straight away.
Okay, fair enough.
And also with all the the drug thing still on, because it's still unclear whether or not he's cleared to fight in the UK or not. Like it's still very unclear about his situation and all that. So maybe they want this to be as low.
Where's this fight being staged in America?
Yeah, Florida. Yeah.
Wait, next week?
No, this Saturday. Yeah.
This Saturday. Oh. Where in Florida?
One second. Let me just look for it. Yeah, nothing's been announced yet. So, but that's the rumors. Is he's
rumors.
God. It's in Orlando. Yeah.
Orlando.
Let me just check on Boxfake if they actually put him on. No, they haven't. Yeah, so he's not on the card officially yet. But
so he's just gonna like WWE out of nowhere.
Money in the Bank, the return. You just
Money in the Bank thing. Special guest. This is nuts, bro. I can't lie to you. I don't know what to say about Conor Benn, man. I don't know about this. I don't know. Like this guy, this thing's been going on for time. He's eating eggs. Like I don't know what to say anymore, man. Bro, let's go to Chris, man.
Chris, what do you think about Conor Benn if he is returning this Saturday?
Mate, do you know what? I feel like this scandal might have even done more for Conor Benn's career than anything else has, because he shot himself into infamy. People want to see him lose. People are intrigued by him. People are excited by him. As a boxer,
you think he might have just become the villain now? Like just
yeah. He might as well.
He's embraced it. He's embraced it.
Yeah, he has embraced it. Yeah, he's embraced it.
It's weird because I've never seen a drug situation in terms of, there's been so many people that have been drug banned and whatnot, but I've never seen one situation of a
This
fight
bad.
like just handled so wrongly. Like you're right, Chris, that he's done more for his career. Like he's now more infamous than ever. That let's be real, if he was gonna try go the babyface way of trying to be like through his boxing, no one was really gonna be that interested like that. Now more people more interested than ever, but they didn't intend that. Like this has just got out of hand so much where we don't know if he's coming back on this week. There's all these rumors that he's going to come back this week on that card. We don't know if he can still fight in the UK or not. They tried to make a Chris Eubank fight in Dubai or something, and then the BBOC said, if you do that, we're going to suspend both your licenses or something like that. Like I've never seen a situation in this in the drugs with the drug ban that's been handled so badly and poorly, where fans literally don't know what's going on with the Conor Ben's career. More people are interested in his career, but no one knows what's happening. No one knows he's going to come back. Like the whole Chris Eubank Jr. stuff, 2 weeks ago. He called out. They called each other out. Whatever. Cool. Is he even eligible to fight in the UK still? No one's cleared that up. Matchroom came out with some rubbish, crappy statement. Yeah, he was cleared, and then BBOC came out 2 days later saying no, with an appeal. So he wasn't really actually cleared to fight, and they came up with their own stuff. It was just, I just find it very don't know, just stupid. There was an easy way to handle this, and they didn't. And I feel like Alicia Baumgartner might fall in that way as well, the way she's handling her drug accusation. It's just weird. If he does return, fair enough. Like, there's nothing much anyone can really say about it. But yeah, it's just weird. I don't know, man. It's just weird. Speaking of things being weird, now there's doubts over the Spence Crawford rematch because initially in the contract there's a two-way rematch clause. Yeah, like whoever wins, the winner gets to decide the rematch. If a rematch clause will be initiated, but the winner gets to decide the terms. Cool. Everyone before the fight were like, yeah, cool. We all were excited for that because we kind of thought this fight would be competitive, it would be very good, and we need to see a second iteration of it. The fight happens, obviously, as one-sided as it is, Spence getting beaten.
That fight was one-sided, man. God.
That was brutal.
That fight changed
Where's something, man?
It changed him. He's not been the same guy since. Honestly. We need a character study on Saps. Way he changed that guy. Crazy. I think he had real stops in this fight. I'm talking about real stops. Maybe some long shots are chasing it.
He said he apparently switched the fight off after the second round or something. Like before the knockdown happened, he just switched the fight off straight away. So but Spence got beaten from pillar to post for 9 rounds. So obviously the interest in the fight wasn't there. Like no one really wants to see their rematch that well. Yeah. Now there are rematch talks because obviously Spence activated the rematch clause. But now it's coming out that Crawford is saying he's offering the rematch at 147, and Spence is saying no, we need to do it at 154.
What do you mean?
Sams is pissed because he's saying Crawford should be a man and honor his word apparently, and do it at 154. But legally, I'm just saying the facts. I'm not giving my opinion just yet. Legally, in the contract, it does say the winner will dictate the terms of the rematch. So whatever happens, anyone can initiate the rematch, but the winner dictates the term. What do you lot think about all this nonsense now about the weight issues?
Spence got to hold that. Bro, Spence got to hold that because what it looks like to me is, okay, the guy is beating you already. A fight that you said you were going to win, the guy is beating you at certain weight class. Okay. In the contract, you guys agree that whoever wins the fight decides what weight rematch is going to be. You lose badly, right? Now you want to fight again, and you're saying, no, I'm not fighting at that weight again. I need you to come up. You're just basically saying that there's no way I win that fight at 147. So, do we really want to see this again? I don't know. Like, for me, I would prefer if Spence just, I don't care what weight it's at. I'm going to beat this guy. Even though most of us probably know that it's not going to happen. But from his mouth, his side, that's the feeling that we should be getting. It doesn't matter what weight we fight. I'm adamant on beating this guy. Because you lost. So I don't know, man. Spence has to hold that. That's what I think.
Chris?
So my thoughts on this. First of all, I don't care about what Team Spence have got to say or what their interests or what's in Spence's best interest. Essentially, what was agreed in layman's terms was that the winner dictates what happens for the rematch. That's what happened. Do you know what I mean? They fought at 147. There was a rematch clause in which if whoever won the fight would get to dictate the weight that the rematch took place in. So if you lose, you have not got a say. Spence immediately started talking about he's moving up to 154. He's changed his Instagram to 154. He's a 154 pounder now. He's seemingly put on quite a lot of weight. Even though he doesn't look fat, but he's put on a lot of weight. And that was never part of the terms. You, after losing, you lost all control of what weight the fight was going to be at. I don't know what he thinks this is. And then the main thing is, like, you lost the fight at a weight, right? You lost the fight at 147. I don't get why a rematch would take place at a different weight. It makes no sense to me. Absolutely no sense. You've been fighting in the division for a long time. If you couldn't make the weight, you would have let go of the belts. You would have gone up. You would have fought. You would have got an easy title run. Whatever. It'll be easy to make fights. It'll be easy to win titles at 154. I don't know. Obviously, maybe because of your stablemate, you don't want to fight for belts, but it could have been done. You've been fighting at that weight, and now all of a sudden, you can't make the weight. There's this problem, that problem, and I think the issue, and Crawford has said this multiple times, years before the fight took place, there was always going to be excuses. So even if you made this concession and said, yeah, look, okay, we're going to fight at 154, people are still not going to give him his props if he wins. So you might as well just do what's best for him. He's calling the shots now. He's won. He's the A side. He's the cash cow. He dictates what happens. This is business. The same way he had to take concessions initially when fighting Spence for the first fight. Why are you going to give Spence an inherent advantage in order to fight? I know you want to prove a point, but it makes no sense. And I think another reason I do think he's doing it is because he just can't be bothered to fight him. He's already 36 years old. Errol's probably not going to want to fight at 147 again. And so he could put out the rematch, and that will give Crawford adequate time to prepare for more lucrative opponents.
Yeah.
You know, you got the winner of Canelo versus Charlo. You got Tim Zhu. You got 154 pounders you could fight.
I think he'll fight Charlo regardless if he wins or loses.
I think it will be Charlo. I think it will be Charlo, but
I just don't see that Canelo fight happening at all. I just don't.
Yeah. I mean, he did change his tune on what he initially said, but I feel like he knows what's at stake for the Canelo money. He knows how much money he can make. So
I think more from a promotional standpoint, because Canelo's on the 3-fight deal. He hasn't signed.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to sign anything further than that. I think for PBC, they know the big fights for them, for Canelo, won't be Crawford. It'll be the 2 Charlo twins and then Benavidez.
Yeah, for sure.
And that will be priority for them, rather. And then for Crawford, what we better to do is just take on Charlo, and then from there see what happens.
100%.
So that's why I don't think that fight. But you're right. I think I find it funny. This man called it like as a fighter, if you lose a fight, and obviously when you're a fighter you're delusional to the sense that you think you can't lose anything, and okay, which is fair. You have to be. To me, if I lost that, I would have been like, we're doing that 147. We're doing with the same gloves, the same shorts, the same ring, the same arena, the same ring walks, the same time, everything the same. So I can prove to everyone that like that was a fluke, if that makes sense. But obviously, if Spence is having problems making 154, and Crawford is saying no, if you want a rematch, we're doing that 147. Allow the fight. Move on.
Yeah.
Just move on. Like, you don't have to get it back. Not everything has to be get back. There doesn't have to be a get back with every single fight.
Yeah, for sure.
Sometimes just leave it. And at 154, he should go on and fight. He could fight Tim Tszyu and make a crap ton of money if they go to Australia. They'd easily sell out a stadium there. He could go there. He could go at 154, fight Tim Tszyu, get a belt if he wins. That's still a tough fight for him. But I think he's just banking a lot on this fight because he knows there's a lot of money involved. He wants it to be at 154 because he feels in his head if he doesn't cut that extra weight, he'll be much more prepared for it. I don't know if he will. We'll have to see if that fight happens, how he looks. And like you said, I think the rematch only goes one way with Crawford because that fight was just so dominant. I think to Spence's head is that fight. The only reason that Crawford must have dominated that fight was because of the weight and nothing else. And I think that's the wrong mindset to have. But again, he's a fighter, so he's going to be delusional to that sense.
Yeah, for sure.
And if I'm what's his name, Derek James, I'm telling him to avoid the rematch at all costs because I can't have that many L's on my record in 1 year. Right, if he loses to Charlo, no wonder he pulled Shakur off the Martin off the Shakur fight because he wasn't taking that many L's, or else it would have been horrendous for him, like a horrendous year. And then no wonder the Joshua fight isn't happening with Wilder now. So he's like, let's chill with the fights now because he wants to win. So, but I find it crazy that there's people online saying, "Oh, Crawford's ducking Spence at 154. He ducked him at 147. He'll duck him at 154 now." Or Crawford's not a man of his word, or something like that.
Crawford ducking Spence is crazy. I don't want to ever hear it say that.
Like when
How
we
can
got
I dunk
pictures,
one that I flogged?
I mean, do you guys really want to see the fight? How
No.
badly do you want to see the
No,
fight?
no,
I don't want to see that again. I can't lie. There's
I wanna
nothing
see-
in that fight. There's nothing in that first fight that makes me think, oh, his Spence just works on this a little bit more than he can get him. I don't see it. I can't lie.
Yeah.
Crawford Charlo has the perfect build-up. He flogged his friend in front of him. He then proceeded, after flogging him, grab his nuts in front of Charlo and say, you're next. And then
Grabbing's not crazy.
yeah, but he was taking the piss. He dropped him in the 7th round, turned to him, you're next, and started like a sign of disrespect. Started grabbing his nuts. So he literally did not respect him at all. And he says he's coming for you next. It has the perfect build-up. Let's just do that. Cool. Charlo went up, tried for greatness. If he loses, which I think he'll lose. I think he's going to lose that fight. I think he's going to be competitive, but he's going to lose. Come back down, fight Crawford, and perfect build. Let's see how that goes. And I think that fight will sell very well, especially with the build-up involved. It will sell very well. I don't want to see, like everyone said after the Crawford fight, no one wants to see the Spence fight again because it was just too one-sided. There was not an iota of competition in that fight. Even in the first round, it was just hesitant. But from rounds 2 to 9, there was no point at which Spence really had a moment in that fight where you thought, oh, okay, he's got a moment in this fight. No, it was just all Crawford. That's why no one really wants to see the rematch again. Spence fans do because they can't believe he lost, which is fair. But you have to accept the terms of the contract, which is legally binding, or just do another fight. You don't have to always fight rematches, like I said. It's just jarring, like with boxing sometimes, because stuff like this can hold up fighters' careers, and then you don't want to see that. You want to see a fighter move on with his career, especially with Crawford when he's in the form of his life. You want to see him fight the bigger fights and see how far he can get.
Yeah.
Boxing has its ups, it has its downs, and that's what we've got to contend with all the time, every single week. Some days it's good, then the other days it'll bring it down bad. Just before we end, if you're watching this live, by the time this comes, we record on Sunday normally, so by the time it comes out and you're listening, the fight might have gone on, might have passed. Tomorrow at 1 p.m. British time, there's a unified world champion fight going on. Light flyweights, the midget weights, but good fighters. Kinshiro Taraji versus Heki Budler in Japan for the WBA and I think the Ring and another title, light flyweight titles. That's going to be a really good fight because Taraji, in my opinion, is a pound for pound level fighter. Like in terms of when you like watch these midgets, very good fight, like very good skills, like elite skills. So if you guys are anyone listening, anyone watching, watch out for that. On the undercard of that is a guy that I've touted for quite a long time, Junto Nakatani, WBO super flyweight. He had that knockout on the Haney Lomachenko undercard, which is not the knockout of the year. He's fighting Archie Cortez. Watch out for him. I think that's one guy in Junto where I think he's going to get to Inoue levels of fighting because he's so tall for that weight, but he can fight on the inside. He's one of the most hell fighters that anyone can fight, and he's only 25. I think he's going to go through the weight classes very, very easily. And like, he's already a 2-division world champion. So like Inoue, I think he's going to keep going through the weight classes, find that his competition is nothing to him. His power carries through, and he's going to be an absolute monster. So keep watching out for guys like that. Also, the guy that Floyd made cry once, Tenshin Nasuka, he's making his pro debut. So if you want to see him cry again, go on that, watch that fight. I don't know where to watch it. It's on ESPN, but you guys, if you know, you'll find your ways. But I think we'll end it there. I think we should end it there. Yeah. Anything else we want to talk about? No.
I think we'll have a lot to discuss after the weekend.
Yeah, next week is going to be a big week to discuss,
Yeah,
and then obviously because we've got next week we'll give you a kind of a preview what it's going to look like. We're obviously going to discuss the result of Zhang and Joyce. We're also then going to have to preview Canelo Charlo. There's also a matchroom card. We'll kind of get into that matchroom card and what it looks like because it involves the cruiserweight division. So we'll talk about that as well. So preview all of that. So lots to be seen as well for next week. And finally, for us in Britain, boxing is ramping up a bit more again. It's been poor this year, but it's getting back, and we'll have more next week. So subscribe, like, comment. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, give us 5 stars, please. And please keep tuning in every week, Sundays at 7 p.m. And we'll see you then. So we'll see you next Sunday. Take care.
Yes, take care.
Peace.